Board members often think that bringing an association into the digital age requires formally amending the community bylaws. They picture an expensive, drawn-out process of lawyer fees and endless community debates. Under Florida Statutes 720.317 and 718.128, that assumption is entirely incorrect. Implementing online voting is an administrative power held directly by the board, not a structural change to the covenants. You do not need a supermajority vote from the homeowners to make this change. The statutory authority to switch to a digital system is executed entirely by passing a formal board resolution. Bypassing the need for a community-wide vote eliminates months of bureaucratic delay. The board has the authority to modernize the election process right now, provided you follow the specific statutory mechanics. This timeline maps the statutory window. The 14-day notice mandate. Written notice must be delivered exactly 14 days prior to the meeting. Notice must reach every parcel owner through 3 legally acceptable methods: U.S. mail, hand delivery, or electronic transmission for owners opted into email. Additionally, the complete meeting agenda must be posted conspicuously on the association property at least 14 days before the meeting. Do not fall for the 48-hour fallacy. Issuing a typical 48-hour notice for this, like a standard board meeting, is a fatal error. It legally voids the entire resolution. To prove you met the 14-day requirement, the person delivering the notice must execute a formal affidavit of mailing. This proof of compliance must be filed directly into the official corporate records by the manager or secretary. Failing to execute this strict 14-day notice process immediately invalidates any future electronic votes. Meticulous timing is the absolute foundation of a legal election. Once the resolution passes, you must select an online vendor. A board cannot use a generic survey tool or a free online form to collect official community votes. Florida law dictates 4 strict technical protocols. Protocol 1 is identity authentication. The software must uniquely verify identity using encrypted tokens, multi-factor authentication codes, or individualized login credentials. Protocol 2 is the 14-day communication test. The platform must verify that a member's computer, tablet, or smartphone can successfully connect to the voting database at least 14 days before the actual voting deadline. Protocol 3 guarantees structural voter secrecy. The platform must permanently separate the user's authentication data from the actual ballot, making it impossible to trace a vote. Protocol 4 dictates the system must automatically generate a digital receipt, showing the vote, user profile, and timestamp. Vetting a vendor for these 4 technical parameters provides a mandatory legal shield against election challenges filed with the DBPR. The board resolution authorizes the voting system, but it cannot mandate participation. You cannot force a homeowner to use the digital platform. Before an owner can cast an electronic vote, they must satisfy the written consent requirement by voluntarily signing a formal opt-in form. Homeowners who withhold this consent retain their absolute statutory right to paper. They must continue to receive physical paper ballots or proxies via standard U.S. mail and vote using traditional methods. Running both digital and physical voting streams naturally creates the risk of overlapping submissions. To manage this during board director elections, the law applies the first ballot tiebreaker rule. If an owner logs into the portal and successfully casts a digital vote, they cannot change their mind and submit a paper ballot later. For board elections, the first ballot officially submitted is the only vote that legally counts. Securing these dual voting streams allows the community to leverage modern technology while ensuring complete legal enfranchisement for owners who prefer physical paper. As the digital votes arrive, the system resolves one of the hardest parts of running an annual meeting, the attendance standing rule. Any member who casts a valid electronic vote is statutorily counted as being in physical attendance for the explicit purpose of establishing your meeting quorum. Achieving a high volume of digital votes in advance practically guarantees that the annual meeting will hit its quorum requirement early and successfully proceed. However, resting a physical meeting's quorum on digital attendees triggers a strict restriction known as the agenda lockout rule. If your quorum is met through the online system, a substantive vote cannot be taken on any issue other than the specific items explicitly detailed in the electronic voting packet. This graphic demonstrates the floor amendment trap. If an owner stands up during the physical meeting and makes a motion to alter the wording of a proposed amendment, allowing that change invalidates the process. Altering the wording on the floor disenfranchises the digital voters. They are legally counted as present for the quorum, but they cannot respond to an unannounced change to the ballot they already signed. The amendment must be voted on exactly as presented online. Strictly locking the agenda protects the integrity of your digital quorum and prevents the state from overturning the entire election. The implementation sequence requires precise execution. Deliver the 14-day notice, vet a strictly compliant vendor, collect the written homeowner consents, and execute a legally bulletproof election. Operating within these statutory controls secures your meeting quorum, protects voter anonymity, and boosts overall participation without requiring a single structural change to your governing documents. Your immediate next step is to draft the formal board resolution for the 14-day notice drop and designate your manager to prepare the compliance affidavit. Mastering these statutory mechanics removes legal guesswork, establishing electronic voting as a reliable administrative asset for the community.